I am so excited to share with you some great printable resources, but we are going to start with just Google Slides because we're going to be doing all of these printables within Google Slides. So I'm here in my Google Drive and I'm just going to start by going to New Google Slides. I'm going to create that. And once I get into Google Slides, my first step is going to be to set up the Google Slide so that it's not just a regular slide because I want to print on it. I need it to be the same size as a piece of paper. So my first step will be to go in and change the size so that it's not the size of a normal slide. It's 8.5 by 11, the size of a piece of paper.
So what we're going to do is go to File, Page Setup, and we are going to not want a widescreen, we want to do a custom. And in inches, a piece of paper is 8.5 by 11. However, I want this to be a tall piece of paper. So I'm going to do my 8.5 here and 11 here, and I made sure it's inches. I'm going to apply that. And I should have a tall piece of paper. I'm going to delete the text boxes that we have in place. And we are going to, now that we have a piece of paper set up, just a couple more basics. I like to use often things called word art. Word art allows you to have a border around your letters, and this really lets often things pop. Let me show you the difference. For example, if I did a text box and I wanted to say to my students, instructions, even if I make it really big, I'm going to choose even a fun font. Rum Raisin is a fun one. And I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut of holding Control Shift and then the greater than sign to go 1 pixel at a time, bigger, 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 bigger. And I can just hold that down even and get a lot bigger fast so that I like using this shortcut because, oh, too far, I just one more back and I can figure out what I wanted. So that's what it looks like as just text. But if I do the same thing with word art, here's the difference. Insert word art. And I'm going to type in instructions here. I'll use the same font. It defaults to Arial, but I can change the font here to Rum Raisin. And already you can tell it has an outline. But what's really fun is I can change the colors so that the outline and the fill are different using right here the fill color. So I could leave it gray, maybe if I wanted gray, or I could change that to something that matches my classroom colors or colors that I think will pop. If I'm using a classroom printer and I have to be black and white, it's still nice to do that gray. I can change the border though to be a thicker border using this, the line weight button, and I can go up to like 4 pixels. And even when I change this back to being gray, maybe even a lighter gray so it prints easier, do you see how that just pops better than just plain text? Because of that border, because of that outline. I really love to use that. So that's just a tip, but here's the difference. If I want to change something here, I click on it, it lets me change it. Here, I've had people say, I don't know how to change your words on things you share on your templates. You just need to double click it and then that little box opens for word art. So it's just a little bit different. You can't change it right within like you do with regular text box for word art. You have to double click, change your words, hit enter, and then it'll change the words in your word art. Okay, next I would like to show how to make a table tent using Google Slides. So I've already set this up using File, Page Setup to be 8.5 by 11. So it's exactly the size of a page. Next, I'm gonna draw a rectangle. That's the shape I'm drawing. About the size that I think I'm gonna want one side of my table tent. It's okay if it's not perfect. I'm going to change the fill of that to just be transparent, blank. And then I don't need that line. It's just to show me where I'm gonna fold. So I need it though, I need the line. I'm just gonna make it a lighter gray. So when it prints, it's just there to show me this is where you're gonna fold. I'm gonna duplicate that. Control D will duplicate for me, or you could right click or 2-finger click and say copy and paste. Now I've got them set up side by side. I'm gonna select both. Here's an easy way to select both. I'm gonna go outside the page and drag across. Now both are selected. And I'm gonna move both at the same time, and I'm gonna use those red guides to line them up perfectly in the middle. Now I realize this flap right here is what I'm gonna fold under on both sides once it's printed and actually staple those together. You know when you've seen table tents that all you do is fold it in half and set it on the table? By the end of the day, they go from being tall to like, they just fall flat. So we're gonna actually have a flap that you can fold under and staple on either side so that it stays up for days and days and days. As long as you print it on cardstock, it's gonna work really well and stay tall. But I don't think I need this much of a flap. So I'm going to again select both by going outside and selecting both. When I do this, if I make this one taller, the other one also gets the same amount taller. So if you select both and drag, that would be the same if I dragged the corners as well. That wasn't a good example, but if I drag the corner, they're both gonna size the same way. So if I have both things highlighted, I can see about where I want that. And now I'm gonna center it again. And I think that's a good flap size. Okay, so now I've got myself kind of a border of where I'm gonna do it. I would like to use this table tent to show my students the reading strategies that they often forget when they're independent reading. This is just an example. So I've found, since I'm not currently teaching, I have found one I'm just gonna borrow. I'm gonna copy this image. I checked to make sure it was free for use. I'm gonna paste it in. And I'm gonna put that on this side of the table tent. Looks like it's a little too big. I'm gonna hold the shift key down while I size it down so that it doesn't get smushy. Have you ever done this where you do this and it gets smushy? We don't want that, undo. If you hold shift, it makes sure it keeps your exact right sizing. So then I'm gonna center that within. I'm gonna duplicate that, but here's what's a little wonky. On this side, when I fold it in half, it would be upside down right now if I folded it in half. So I actually need the top to be upside down. So now that I've got exactly what I want, I'm gonna turn that upside down. And the reason, even though this chart I'm pretending is already hanging on my wall, I notice that the kids they're still not using the strategies. They don't look up on the wall. So during independent reading, I want this right in front of them, right on their tabletop. So now when I print this, all I'm gonna have to do is fold it in half on this line. Then I'm gonna fold this line and staple the little parts. What that'll do for me is make an awesome table tent that I can have right on the table in front of kids. Now there's another way to make a table tent. We could actually do a tri-fold table tent. Here's what I mean by that. I'm gonna delete these and I'm gonna delete out these. We're gonna start over and do a tri-fold. It's gonna stand up tall. So imagine, I'm gonna grab a piece of paper so I can show you. Imagine, I'm gonna take this piece of paper, we're gonna actually do it this way, and we are gonna fold it into fourths so that it ends up standing like this on the table. So it's going to stand up like this. Here's how to do it. First, we're going to change the page setup to be still 8.5 by 11. You need to be on custom, but we're gonna change that 11 to be first and the 8.5 to be second. Apply. Now I've got a piece of paper that is landscape view. I'm again going to draw a rectangle. And then I'm going to make sure it defaults to this kind of ugly gray. So I'm just gonna change that to be transparent. I don't need anything inside. And the lines are really just there for my folds. So I'm gonna make it a light gray. So when it prints, it's just there for me to see. I'm going to duplicate that and put it right next to it. Duplicate it again, put it right next to it. I need 4 of these boxes. Now you'll notice I did a bad job. I've got a little extra spot here, a little extra spot here. I can click and drag my mouse across all 4, so they're all highlighted, and now they're all going to size together. So when I size one, it's gonna size all of them. So I'm gonna actually make sure this one goes all the way to the edge. I'm gonna make sure this one goes all the way to the edge. Oops, not quite all the way to the edge. Now when I let go, I've got 4 perfect spots. One of those spots is going to be blank. We're gonna leave this one totally blank. It is actually gonna get folded behind this first one, and you'll staple. So it's gonna be a 3 tri-fold. So on this first one, I am going to pretend that I am a math teacher, and I've been teaching equivalent fractions, and they're just not getting the equivalent fractions. So I'm gonna copy this image, and I'm gonna paste it over here. This could be an actual image that I made, something I made in my classroom. So I can size this down. I could take a picture of my actual anchor chart. And maybe right here, I even insert some awesome word art that says, fraction charts. Whoops, I just said chart. So I'm going to double click, add the S, hit enter. Notice this, if I double click and change a bunch of stuff and then just click off of it, oh, it did change. It used to not change. You had to hit enter. I learned something new. There we go. Fraction charts, hate the font, changing it to rum raisin, making the outside pixel even bigger than that. And then I'm going to size that down. I'm holding the shift key to make sure it sizes down. I'm realizing it's hard to read now. So I'm just going to change it to just fraction, hit enter, making that bigger. Then I'm going to duplicate it with Control D, double click that, make it chart. Oh, I did it again. I wanted to say fraction charts with an S. I'm going to pull this down and it's going to say fraction charts. And then I'll have this chart. For time's sake, I'm just going to duplicate this one, but imagine that I had, several different fraction charts that I want my kids to look at, or just math charts maybe. Then next to it, okay, then next to it, I'm going to duplicate this again on another part of the trifold. I'm going to say tech, Control D to duplicate. Now I'm going to double click this and I'm going to say help. So this is tech help. If you're having an issue and you need some tech help, this is the side of the trifold you're going to look at. And I'll a graphic for Freckle that just shows the login. I'm going to copy that image and I'm going to paste the Freckle login. And maybe I would even enter in our class code there on top so that the kids could see like, hey, when you go to Freckle, remember this is our class code. Or if this is, remember this is how you log in. You do your login, but you have to add our and our school district information at the end when you need to log into Google. So I might have different helps here. Then again, I'm just going to copy this for now as an example, but I would have something else here. I wouldn't put the same thing on all three, but I would have thing, and then I would leave this blank. Then when I fold it up, that fourth part, you're going to fold on all the lines so that it's a fourth, and then that final line, when it's folded, the blank part is going to go behind the not blank part and stapled together so that it stands up on the desk and students can reference that tall standing area. So this could be used for instructions in a studio. This could be used just out on the tables all the time as anchor charts that you want your students to use and know how to do. So now you know how to make some awesome table tents. We're going to move on to how to make a terrible sheet. It's terrible. I'm talking about those tear off sheets. In this example, I said tear off your content assignment instructions. Tear off one animal group, get out a blank sheet of paper and write down everything you already know about your animal group. In my mind for this lesson, after they write down everything they know, maybe that's the warm up, and I greeted them at the door that morning and said, tear off the next animal, follow these instructions. And then after they've written down everything they know, I ask them, get with your same group. So all the reptiles are getting together, all the mammals are getting together, and then I give them a further assignment. Make a poster with everything that your group knows. Or look and see what are the things that only one person knew. So we're sharing ideas, and then we can share out as a class and learn about all the different animals. This could be a great intro. What do we already know about these animals before you ever teach this lesson? Or it could be a great review. What have we learned? What do you know about all these animals? And then review your classmates. If you are interested in using something like this part up here that says tear off your content, you could completely change it so that it says something like mammals review. These are word art, so you'd have to double click each one. I thought it was editable, but maybe it's not. But down here, instructions is editable. You can edit all the instructions. And then right here, these are all editable. However, something to think about is, let's see how many I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this is for 24. If you have a perfect class of 24 or you just have 23, you could make one blank. But let's say you'd rather have them tear off at their table. You only want there to be 6 on each side. You want it to be different. Here's how to edit that, just so you know. You can just come in here and go, I need less. I only want 10 on each side, not 12. I've taken those 2 off, but now it's got a big weird white spot. If I click and drag across, whoops, that didn't work for me. Let me try again. Click and drag across. It's going to highlight all of them for me. If I pull up here, it's going to size them all so that they're all the same size. Because I had them all highlighted, it thought she wants me to pull and make each one a little bit bigger. And that is what I wanted. So now I've only got 10 on this side. I can do the same thing on this side. And even if I do it from the bottom, 1, 2, I deleted those. If I drag across and highlight all those things, I can drag this down till I get to the bottom and it sized them exactly how I wanted. Then I can double click and change that. If you click on the Extend Your Learning section, the link for this exact template is there so that you can use it and make some tear-off content. Here's another way you can make some tear-off content. I actually learned about this from Tony Vincent from a class I'm taking from him, and he had this example to compliment yourself. Maybe you just, when kids come to a small group that day, you have some compliments. His compliments are more generic, meaning I am strong, I light up a room, I am brave, I make a difference. And so he asked students, hey, tear one off and leave it on your desk all day and know that that is true about you. So no matter how the day goes, you can have that I matter right in front of you all day long. I thought this could also be cool to change to your content. So it could be a compliment about their reading skills. And you could write a bunch of different things about their reading, specific things that they could compliment themselves. So that after maybe they come to you for small group, you could say, you know what, you need to take one of these because you're doing a great job with this. Keep it at your desk and remind yourself, you're hard on yourself sometimes, but you are a fluent reader. You read so well across the page. It's like you're an actor when you're reading. It's great. So that's a way that you could have them, you could compliment them or they could compliment themselves. This is also available in the Extend Your Learning. You can make a copy of this and change it up or use it as is in your classroom. Next, I want to look at how we can use cubes for learning. Control-Alt-Achieve. Eric Kurtz has an amazing website, and he has a blog post that is available in the Extend Your Learning section. You can get there. And he talks about making cubes for inspiring stories. I also think you could make cubes for lots of different things, with questions to review. This could be in a future ready studio, and you could have different ways to show your learning. So you need to roll the dice, and whatever way it tells you, that's what you're going to create to show your knowledge of the content. You could use cubes in a lot of ways. And Eric has made 3 awesome templates. One of his templates has you putting pictures in the cubes. One of his templates allows you to put emojis in each cube, and you could choose the 6 appropriate good emojis that you want students to roll. And this is what that looks like. So he has it so they blow up really big. And then a third way is just words. Just typing in words for students like, hey, you're going to write a story in his example with a mountain, a cat, and a fire. Go, write that story. But you could even have questions on these. So this could be a future ready where you're rolling that dice and you're answering that question with a friend. You could even make more than one cube. There could be an emoji cube and words, or an emoji with a question, and you have to do something with this. So if your brain is sparked, here's how to use this. Let's click on his, he's got the picture version, the emoji version, and the text version. I'm just going to on the text version for now, and that's going to pop up for us. The links for these are in his blog post, but they're also in our Extend Your Learning, so you can grab the links and make your own. It is going to say, would you like to make a copy? We are going to make a copy. That's going to put it in your Google Drive, and it's fully editable. So once it's in your Google Drive, you can change everything about it. And it doesn't affect Eric Kurtz's original post. No one else is going to see this. Your person. So when this fully loads, I will be able to follow Eric's directions here in the corner. It says double click inside of each square, type in a word that would be good for a story, print out the completed template by clicking File, then Print, then cut out and fold it up and glue or tape your story cube together for students to use. I would suggest not using paper, but using cardstock, so this is a little more sturdy for students to use, and just remind them that it is made out of paper, so not to smush or squish. So here I can double click and put in my words or just my questions if I have a question. So I could say even assignments. write a math question similar to one we worked on today. So this is like different assignments I could have them do. I'm going to click that on the outside of this, whoops, or I can highlight it all. I am wanting to change it from being 24 point to fit. So I'm going to go down and see. And then I'm using the keyboard shortcuts Control-Shift and the greater than arrow to go up just 1 pixel at a time so it fits as big as I can fit it without it going over too far. So there we go, that fits really well. Then I could go over here and type another idea. Maybe record a seesaw video explaining one question you are confident you got right. So you're explaining to a classmate. I'm going to click just the edge of this if I can get the edge, and then I can use my keyboard shortcut Control-Shift less than to go down 1 pixel at a time. And confident is not spelled correctly, so we'll fix that up. And then I could go ahead and put things on each one of them so that students could use this in a Future Ready studio. That's kind of what I was thinking of, but you could use it for so many numerous things. You could use his template that adds pictures in, emojis in. Those are all available and so cool. I hope you have some exciting ways to use printables in your classroom, either this cube, the table tent, or the terrible. Hope it wasn't too terrible. Have a great day.